Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Your Freedom Hub's Free Market Cash Patient. I'm your host, Jeff Cantor, along with my co-host, Charles Froman. We've got some fantastic sponsors, one of whom is our guest tonight. Also wanted to let you know we are the central point for all activists and entrepreneurs that are trying to disrupt in an approach to make a little better place out of where we all live together. We are recording all of these for posterity. We've got a couple of places that they live on these various channels. We have a singular subscribe link if you wish. With that in mind, just to tell you, this is the core site for products. These are the examples of what the sites look like, where the various videos are. You'll see there's a wealth of them going back a long time, and they're all extremely pertinent. So we'll certainly subscribe, share videos as you see fit. And then to kind of take it to the newest iteration, we have the marketplace website, and there's a variety of links and drop downs and things that you can explore and so on. But the reason I'm bringing you here is underneath the home where it says information and events. That's this link here. And this is, this one here. And this is about tonight as an example. So these would have been you've seen, and then the next day or so, it'll show you who's coming up next Wednesday. But here's who was for tonight. This was the advance notice. This was where you could register. Here's if you missed last week, here's a list of who's coming up. And then here are those links to those various websites. So they're all archived and they're all uploaded over the weekend. So for sure by Monday, this current video will be up there. We're then also taking the conversation after the event, and we'll come back to this offline afterward, because these guests have some important topics and some of this is ongoing where we're trying to change regulation or something. So it's much more long-lived than a simple 1 hour presentation. And then also there's in here organizations where we're starting to coagulate all the different things that are going on here to worry about, issues to act on, organizations fighting for your freedom in many which ways, and then also a growing marketplace. So tonight we're going to have Nutrution on here, but before I do a quick introduction, Jane, have you got a little something to add to the commentary about this site?
Again, you've done a great job, Jeff. I just think that, I want people to realize that this isn't just our site, it's everybody's site. If there's something valuable that needs to be shared, anyone can contribute and chime in. So, if either they contact you or me or Charles, I'm happy to put up anything on the site that's of value.
Super. And as you'll notice, we are listing who's coming. We sort of have a generic link and so on, as you see down here. But for every speaker, we have a custom link. So for today, we'll use this as by way of a bit of an introduction. We definitely create a unique landing page. And so we're going to have a chance to hear from Dr. Bruce Laird. And he has a lot of different interesting things in his background. And in fact, I'm going to let Daryl, who works with him, do a little bit more of an in-depth intro than I'm doing. But he's invented a lot of different products and services, but we're going to key in on a couple that are really very exciting and that have an awful lot to do with the realities that a lot of people have to face every single day, and that is also pertinent to you too. So, and on here's what we described. I'm sorry, I'm probably jumping around in here. But you'll see this was about all these different formulations and so on. So on that kind of note, just because I need a little assistance, is if Daryl, if you can come in and just give a little bit more of a background than I fill in a few of my holes.
Yeah, Jeff, we're going to have an interesting session here tonight as everyone listens in and then asks questions to Dr. Laird. For many, many years, he has been one person by one person really changing the health market through naturopathy, through homeopathic natural remedies. And he has quite the experience. He has phenomenal training in education, but his approach and experience and abilities to create and actually invent new technologies are really, really a benefit. And so what we're going to do is we'll just let everyone be introduced to Dr. Laird by Dr. Laird explaining some of the things that excites him.
Well, good evening, everyone. We want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. Before I begin, I must tell you that the opinions and verbiage I express are solely my own. I'm not here to treat, diagnose, or cure any type of disease, and any products that Nutrution markets, again, is not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any type of disease. We need to do that and get the legalities out of the way so that someone doesn't come back and say, you said this, you said that. I'm just expressing my observations in the world of science, and perhaps I can enlighten some. But again, those are expressly my opinions and are not meant to be taken any further. Anybody taking anything further, the liability is upon them and not me. So I just want to get that out of the way. So where are we going from here, guys? What would you like to know?
Say, Gerald, if you want to kind of lead off, or where we should run down our little bit of an agenda here.
Okay, yeah, yes, I'm sorry to jump in, Jeff, yes. And I think, Dr. Laird, it'd be very important today to really emphasize and help people to learn how the immune system really plays a part with the environments we're living in now, and then how the lack of nutrients not only affects the immune system, but it is affecting the lives of people globally. Those are the two main points that I think we would like to accomplish today, and then questions will take us elsewhere.
Okay, I can briefly describe that. Again, the scope of our conversation, we're going to kind of narrow it down for time constraints. We're all affected by our environment. If anybody says they're not affected by our environment, has deluded themselves to thinking such. But from the air we breathe, to the water we drink, to the food we eat, it all affects the pathogenesis of our body. Try the best you can to consume, good quality products, so to speak. You try to eat the right foods, but the reality of it is that our food system has been adulterated to such an extent that people are not really even aware how far-reaching the ramifications that are. For example, let's talk about GMOs, genetically modified organisms. What is the long-term effect of GMOs? We don't know. That's the reality, friends. We don't know. Studies have shown that, and we hear, again, the propaganda machine tells us, you can have this, it's totally safe. We've tested, we've done this, we've done that. Not so. That's not the case. They really don't know. What we can tell you from experience is that when you ingest a genetically modified organism, a food per se, it affects the villi. The villi are the little hair-like projections in your small intestines that oscillate at a certain frequency. The ingestion of GMOs will actually, how should we say, alter, slow down, sometimes totally incapacitate those villi from oscillating. What happens then? The food, when you digest, and most of the food that we do ingest, is absorbed in our small intestines. Well, when we take and nullify the action of those villi, the oscillation is no longer there. The food just bounces against the intestinal wall. Some goes in, some goes out, but very little is actually taken and absorbed and being utilized by the body for proper nutrition. So many times people, they think they're eating well, but they're actually malnourished because, again, they're not getting the proper balance of vitamins, minerals, enzymes, amino acids. But again, GMOs working against them. Again, we're not going to get into an argument. You can say GMOs are totally safe. You're fine and willing to do that. But let's face it, we've got more digestive issues today than we've had in many, many years. Why is that? Because the foods today we eat are processed. They're genetically modified. Many times foods that come in from foreign governments are radiated. And the FDA says, we don't need to tell you that's the case. So again, we're being forced to consume what's being provided for us. It takes a very savvy consumer to say, wait a minute, whoa, I don't want that. I'm going to seek, my provisions, perhaps flours, different things from Europe, where GMOs are not an issue because they don't use them. So it's really, the old adage about the buyer being aware, so important in such a profound statement, especially in the marketplace today, because people are eating things. They've got digestive issues. Now, of course, we're not going to get into attacking big pharma, but the reality of it is that healthcare in reality is not about getting people better. It's about making money. And it's gone down the trail of leading people on, false assumptions, do this, do this. For example, let's take a common problem that everybody has, indigestion. Oh, you have indigestion? No problem. Let's suggest Nexium or Zantac or Prilosec, the little purple pill. those particular maladies, and let's explain just briefly the biochemistry of how things work. Your body takes in the nutrients. Now, your body's, say your pH level, the acidic level to break those foods down is not really where it needs to be. So now, delayed response from the brain to the stomach to produce more hydrochloric acid, it's delayed. And now it's too much. So now you have all this tumultuous activity going on inside your stomach. Oh, I feel terrible. This is bad indigestion. No problem. Let me write you out a script for Prilosec or Nexium. Well, what does that do, doctor? Well, that shuts down your proton pump, which is your acid producer. Okay, will I feel better? Oh, yes. Now, you will feel immediately better because it blanketed everything. The only problem is in 3 to 5 years, you're going to have a major absorption problem because you totally shut off the proton pump, which is the acid producer, so you can digest foods. Now, I want to get off that. You know what? After finding this out, I say, no way. I don't want to be on that. Well, it's the perfect pharmaceutical because for those 2 weeks that you will try to get off of it, it will be a living hell for you. The proton pump is now turned back on full blast and it's out of control. It's producing so much acid. It's like, I got to take some, I got to take something, I got to take something. And that's how you feel. But again, you just need to get over that window. We can provide obviously something that will help you get over the window, but it's a very vicious cycle. You lead people in, you medicate them with inappropriate pharmaceuticals, which are not really remedying a problem, treating the symptom, and you've created a tumultuous situation for them where they're going to suffer. See, the initial problem was, begin with, the pH level wasn't high enough, which means the foods weren't be broken down. So let's think about it. pH level's not high enough. Let's throw something in to blanket everything. Does that make sense to you? No, it doesn't. It's a quick fix. It's a treating symptom, but it's not taking care of the problem. What we've always tried to do, regardless of what type of compound we dealt, whatever type of formula, we try to study the dynamics of disease. What causes the problem? When we ascertain what the problem initially is, then we go about treating it from that aspect. When we do that, we take care of the problem, which means what? No more problem. So that's why I think we've had tremendous success in what we do. What topic would you like to talk about next?
What about the immune system? The digestion, we're not getting the nutrients. Our immune system is being attacked. We're weaker than we should be. And many people are experiencing that now in this environment. So what can we do? What should we do? How does the immune system play into this?
Well, of course, the immune system is the body's defense mechanism for dealing with every type of malady. It's so important that we have an immune system. We look at what's currently happening in the world today with this pandemic, very scary situation. Again, what's the approach that conventional methods have chosen? Well, let's try to give you a vaccination. Let's try to give you an inoculation. Let's do this. Is that really the way to go? Now remember, again, unbeknownst to many that partake of that, that vaccination will actually, if your immune system's compromised, will cause you to get whatever malady you're trying to treat. You will be contagious for 72 hours. And a lot of times the preservative to maintain the viral stability is usually compromised or composed of mercury and aluminum. What does that do? It destroys your nervous system. So really, also, let's not delude ourselves to thinking, this is the answer. Let me take the injection. Oh, that's great. Well, hello. The reality of it is that vaccination is only good toward 1, maybe 2 strains of that virus. So how do you know at the beginning of the season that that's going to be the strain that's around? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So in reality, people will line up and get their flu shots and they'll do this. And the reality is when they get it, if their immune system is compromised, they will get the flu. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me. But again, this is why it calls on us to ask questions, to inquire. Don't be just naive and say, well, whatever he says, that's what I'll do. Really? No, you need to use your own perceptive powers. You have to analyze and say, does this make sense? And if it doesn't, then why not ask someone that can explain the mechanism of action so you can be better equipped to make a well-rounded decision. Remember, we don't want decisions to be made on credulity. We want decisions to be made on accurate knowledge. That's based on facts. And you can provide accurate knowledge the way things are, the way things work, then you can allow the consumer to make his own decisions. Let people make the choice. Don't tell them what they need to do. Don't tell them what they should do. Let them make the choice. That's always the best policy.
I heard you talk about mechanisms of action. And what I've heard is Many treatments address one of what I believe at least 4 mechanisms of action for the immune response. Any thoughts on that?
Well, thank you, Mr. Science. I don't know where you got that information. That sounds good on paper. I have to bust you a little bit, Daryl. You know how that is. But the reality of it is again, the immune system, the body, let's talk about the immune system. The body's number one defense mechanism for taking care of allergies, taking care of flus, taking care of an injury, whether you get a splinter in your finger, whether you hurt your foot, is inflammation. What is inflammation? That's the body's first line of defense in trying to heal the system or bring it back to that homeostasis, that balance. But the reality of it is because we're imperfect, our immune systems go a little bit haywire. Inflammation gets out of control. And before you know it, we've got major issues going on that actually exacerbate the condition that we're trying to remedy. For example, if you injure yourself, your body produces many inflammatory responses. One is prostaglandins. Now, conventional medicine and NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, aspirin and such, they're designed to what? Inhibit or stop prostaglandin production. Does that make sense? Well, basic physics tells us for every action, there's an equal reaction. If you stop something, you're going to pay the price later on. So what happens is when we actually stop the body from doing what it wants to do, what it needs to do, we're actually what? We're actually inhibiting our body's immune system in dealing with that. For example, it's so much better to actually modulate the inflammation, the inflammatory process. Don't shut it off, modulate it, control it. For example, when the body encounters, say a cold, an allergy, a virus, it produces what? It produces many, again, things that, it wants to use to fight that. For example, your body produces interferon. That's a good thing because interferon was where your body will raise the temperature of the body, induce a fever to try to fight that off. But one of the things is, and we're not going to get to all the inflammatory responses, we're going to get into one of the primary responses. It's called the NF-kappa B pathway. What's that? Well, that's the inflammatory pathway that your body's using to fight infection. Now, when it comes in contact with a virus, what happens? Well, again, if we're able to modulate that NF-kappa B pathway, we can control that. So the body can still inflame itself, heal the area, but it doesn't get out of control. When it gets out of control, we've got inflammation of the lungs, cardiac tissues inflamed, intestines are inflamed, and that's where you can run into major, major issues. We want to take care of that before it happens, modulate it, control it, then we don't have the problem. So much better to treat it prior to having than trying to get into treating it after the fact. It's a long road and it takes a little bit longer. It can still be achieved, but again, as long as you continue to adversely stop something in the body, you're going to run into long-term issues.
Jeff, is this a good time for questions? I thought I unmuted myself. I asked Jeff, is this a good time for questions?
And here I'm responding to you, but I was on mute. So how about that? And I was going to say, no, before we jumped in on that for a minute, I did want to talk for a minute about these chews that you guys have been working on for a little while. This is such a kind of a parallel issue when you're talking about immunity and immune system and hunger in general. And so why don't you enlighten us a little bit about what you've got going on that front a little bit and how that interplays with what you've just been talking about.
Well, again, the key is providing the body with the proper constituents it needs to maintain that homeostasis, to continue to be able to function at an optimal level. The sad fact of it is talking on a worldwide scale, over 820 million people die every year from starvation or malnutrition. Think about it. Do the math. That's over 25,000 people a day die. What a sad consequence. Again, we're not going to get into why that happens. The earth has the capability of producing so much food, but it's not distributed accordingly. It's mismanaged, whatever the case may be. People are starving. So what we did is we were working on the development of a life-sustaining chew, as Nutrution terms it. And what it is a chew that provides everything you could possibly need in your daily requirements. Amino acids, vitamins, minerals. It's got it all. It's got the proteins that you need. What's nice about it, and again, here's another key. It's like going out for a big steak dinner and you eat, oh, that is so good. Whew, I feel a little bloated here. Why? Maybe you don't have enough enzymes and you're not breaking the food down. If you don't break the food down, your body doesn't get the absorption it needs. It doesn't provide the proper constituents the body needs to repair itself. We've taken care of that. We actually incorporate it in an enzymatic base, which means what? You ingest it, you chew it, and your body readily absorbs it. I think the average adult dosage would probably be somewhere about 6 chews. It's about the size of a starburst, and that in fresh water, and you are good to go. It will give you everything you need to survive. Again, we don't know. We're talking many times in third world countries where they don't have access to the ability to grow crops. They have issues. Here you give them that, it makes all the difference in the world. And because it's in an enzymatic base, many times you'll feel almost an instantaneous result. What do you mean? Well, a lot of athletes, triathletes, they exhaust themselves, their electrolytes out of balance, their body is just depleted of all the vitamins or minerals it needs. And whew, that's when you hit the wall. I can't move, I can't do anything. You give them a chew, less than 20 seconds later, it's like, wow, I've got my second win, I feel great. How was that? How's that possible? It's called biochemistry. Give them what they need, give it to them in a readily absorbable form, and the results are amazing. Not only can we be honing it for an athlete to give them what they need, or a triathlete, but also for the average person that just doesn't eat right. They don't have time to eat. They're in a hurry. Kids are out the door in the morning. Mom, did you eat your breakfast? No, okay. Well, here, give them a handful of chews. They're good for the day, and give them some water. They're set. They're not going to be depleted of the vitamins and nutrients they need for what? Not only for muscle and tissue repair, but for what? Brain function. When you don't eat, you don't think, okay? You have to have the proper nutrients. You have to be able to absorb them. That's what that does. It provides a complete food source, all encapsulated in one little chew. It doesn't get any better than that. It's palatable. It doesn't taste like dirt. It tastes really good. It's actually vanilla flavor, and quite enjoyable. The results are amazing. So for somebody that, they're on the go, they don't have time, carry a handful of chews with them, just have those throughout the day. What's really neat about it, and the way it's designed, is not only designed to provide the proper nutrients and proper biochemistry to the body, but what it does, it keeps the body in a positive nitrogen balance. Maybe you've heard me talk about that before. Nitrogen balance is so important because your body uses that to continue to build muscle tissue. When you build muscle tissue, you get rid of excess body fat. So when you eat these, you'll get the proper nutrients. You'll actually start to put on lean body tissue, but you'll start to burn up excess fat. Your body will get rid of it. It's trying to reach that homeostatic balance, and that's what these things do. It's amazing how well and how efficacious they are.
One thing to sort of add, because I know you've talked about this, you can explain a little bit to the average person. Here we think we're helping somebody in some foreign country, let's say in some poor nation in Africa, and we send them all these pallets of stuff from UN foodstuffs. What's the reality to that person getting that in a box showing up at their door as opposed to what you're talking about?
Well, the reality of it is, again, that you have to have a fresh water source, okay? Let's send them a bag of beans. Let's send them a bag of oats. Let's send them this. Glop. Oh, well, they should be happy. That's nutrients. First of all, it's not appealing. It's very crude. Your body has to digest it, and you're getting very, very little nutritional value from that. But it's sustenance, and that's what their main goal is, sustenance. The difference is when you see someone that's been nutrient deprived for a long period of time, you see the eyes, and you've heard me say this before, it's like the lights are on, but nobody's home. You look at a small child, it's like they're looking at you, but it's like they're looking right through you because nothing registers. You give them one of these chews, and less than a minute later, you see a spark in their eye. Why? Because you just gave the body now everything it needs. Obviously, it's going to need more than one, but you gave it enough nutrients to get the brain firing. So now all those synaptic responses are firing. Things are starting to work. The brain's starting to work. When the brain starts to work, the immune system starts to work. Now the immune system is working, and now the immune system is on its first step. It's a baby step, but on its first day or step to repairing itself. And that's the difference. You don't send them a bottle. This is like, they're all pre-packed. Pop one of these in your mouth. Boom, you got it. Have some water a little bit later on. You are good to go. That's what's unique about it because it's self-sustaining. Not only for people in third world countries, but people that are survivalists. What about here in the U.S.? What if the supply chain's cut off tomorrow, Jeff? You might have a few bucks in the bank, but you go down to your local grocery store. There is no food on the shelf. You can't even buy a roll of toilet paper. Now what are you going to do? Did you grow a garden this year? Hopefully you did. Hopefully you can, because if you didn't, you're done. You're finished. You'll be starting looking to eat the furniture around the house. You've got chews. Don't have to worry about it. Now you've got something to keep you sustained. Again, we don't know what lies ahead in the future. We don't know how bad things are going to get, but it's nice because it gives you a semblance of security and that you have something that, don't worry, my family's taken care of. I can still feed them. We've got some chews in the pantry. What a difference.
Along those lines, I do remember you commenting that the packaging, at least on the chew itself, is a biodegradable packet.
Mm-hmm.
But independent of that, if I bought like, I forget how many come in, let's say a box, how long does that stuff have as a shelf life?
We've tested it at 5+ years.
So a long time for survival purposes,
Exactly.
like you said, if there's a flood.
Believe me, your
power
neighbors will
outage.
come to get your chews before you run.
Before they come for your gun.
There you
So
go.
there you go. That's a classic thing for sure. And as you can see, this is a valuable thing for other countries and areas that have spent huge amounts of dollars on infrastructure to deliver really trivial things to those people in the end. So this is very fantastic from that standpoint. Now, the other thing too that you did mention, and you've invented like literally thousands of things over the years, it all kind of always boils down to that one little root functionality of the body, seemingly after you peel back the onion on almost every little topic that you've described to me through the years. And am I off base on that? Or what kind of is that singular thing about all these different separate things you've tried to work on, from cancer to this, that, or whatever? What is the central point?
Well, you're totally duped, Jeff. You're totally off base. You are totally off base. No, seriously, the reality of it is exactly what you are saying. We've been just conditioned by the pharmaceutical industry, by the media. This is what you need. This is what you want. People today, and again, not to stereotype people, but especially the new generation, they are as dumb as stumps. There is no more common sense. It's an oxymoron. You just don't see it. Look at grandma and grandpa years ago. They could think. What are they going to do? Grandma, they didn't have it at the store. Don't worry. We got some potatoes in there. We got some fish. We're going to make something. If it doesn't come in a can or a box today, the most part, people are lost. When you saw during the COVID-19 pandemic and you went to the stores, you know what was cleaned out? Not so much the vegetables, frozen pizza, frozen food, because that's what people are used to. They're so conditioned to think this is healthy. It's just, that's why Americans are overweight. They've got health issues because their diet stinks. They're being provided this and they're told, let's eat this. But really, it's like you're filling your body with empty calories and garbage. You're going to pay the price later on, but that's what they're conditioned to. Where the basics, we're giving people the very basics of what they need in a utilizable form, so now their body can readily absorb it and use it and be able to move on. And the thing is, when you try it yourself, it's like, wow. It's not one of those things like, well, I didn't notice a difference. Well, if you didn't notice a difference, it's not working. Let's not play games. When you have something that's efficacious and it works, you take it and you feel the difference. That's what that chew, you take it, and especially if you've been out working out in the yard or you're doing some exercise, like, I feel kind of depleted. You pop one. There's no artificial stimulants in it. There's no ephedra. There's no, but because it's in a utilizable form, your body sucks it up and puts it to use immediately. That's the difference.
I'm a testimonial on that, Jeff. Today, after we broke down all of those fixtures and shelving from that store, my normal day is in front of the computer and on the phone. And after all that physical work, you better believe I popped some of that protein formula. And within 30 minutes, I can tell I worked hard because I don't do it every day, but it just brought me right back.
Oh, that's really is fantastic. All right, let's grab some questions because needless to say, some hands are popping up. Charles, why don't you lead off?
Thanks, Jeff. And, that was a good summary of immunity and how the chewable might help world hunger in third world countries. What about more on the immunity factor in this time of COVID hysteria? Everyone is kind of stressed out and they're made afraid by the hysteria in the media. How does a steady diet, including the chewable, enhance immunity so that you can just calm down and not really worry about these different strains floating around in virus land?
Well, I mean, the reality of it is when you provide your body with a high octane fuel, it's going to perform better. If you got a high performance sports car sitting in your driveway and you put 87 octane in it, what's going to happen? It's not going to run. It's not going to run properly if you can get it to run. Your body, especially today, Our bodies produce, we process about 100 million bits of information per second. We're not even cogs of that. Our body is under constant stress from environmental issues, from say our jobs, say our home environment, the food we eat, the air we breathe, like we mentioned at the onset. So your body's constantly under stress. When its immune system is not functioning optimally, what do you think? Here, sorry, I didn't mean to cough on you. Oh, great, now what? Well, there's other things that we can do to keep your immune system, fortified, but keeping the body nutritively supported is going to make a tremendous difference in keeping our immune systems, working at a more optimum level. Again, once you've been infected or exposed to something, there's other means that we can do to, alleviate that. But as far as the chew goes, that's keeping your immune system working optimally. It's like when you're working out and you're eating good, man, I feel good. You know what? It's like you don't pick up every little thing that comes along the pike. But boy, when you're tired and you're not eating right and you don't get enough sleep, it's like somebody sneezes, across the room. Next day you've got a cold. Why? Because your body needs nutrients, which it hasn't been getting. So obviously, keep the immune system fortified. That's going to help when you have something like a chew to keep that supported.
Very good. Gordon, I see your hand. I think I may have do a little unmute. Gordon, are you there? I did an unmute there.
Okay. Now, I want to thank you, Dr. Laird and Daryl. As Daryl knows, I was in a severe car accident a few years ago with a lot of internal injuries. And since that time, I haven't been able to eat right. I've lost 20, 30 pounds. I'm down below 100 pounds now. And you helped me last year with turning to non-GMO foods. And that was the first time I could actually eat solid food. Anytime we go out of town, stay in a hotel, go to restaurants, I can't eat anymore. Anyway, so last night, Daryl dropped off the Performance Protein Plus because I couldn't even hold water down yesterday. And today was the first time I didn't have to take any antiemetics. I was able to actually drink some organic Gatorade, some other liquids with that Performance Protein Plus mixed in it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Not to be smart here, but the proof is in the pudding. So when you can get something that's nutritive, like during the 60s and early 70s, the astronauts, well, they went to space. It's not like they could take a big steak dinner up there. So they drank Tang, but they had freeze-dried foods, they had such like that. And they were designed by NASA to be easily assimilated. Of course, it tastes like who knows what. Like, ooh, let me squeeze some paste into my mouth. Yeah, not really there. But it was designed ultimately to provide the body with what it is. This is a futuristic form of nutrients in a concentrated state so that your body can readily absorb it. Especially in your state, your body needs nutrients, but due to the impairment of the digestive mechanism, it's not going to get it. It can't eat a big steak dinner. Your body needs it, but it can't eat it. So now we're able to give it something on a scale that it can easily assimilate. And now your body, once it assimilates that, it's going to start to improve its condition. So I'm glad that worked for you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and also I work in the COVID tent in the ER, and we've been using the lozenges. Gordon will mix me up some ginger tea with honey and melt a lozenge in it. And I think that's what's kept me the last 6 months from not getting COVID. So
no, I can't tell you by law that that's what it does. It's amazing how that works. We can't tell you that it prevents it. We can't tell you that, but you tell us. It's quite an amazing thing. Again, keeping the immune system fortified, controlling that inflammation makes a tremendous difference.
thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say, how did it taste? Was it a tasty little thing, or what'd you think of it from that perspective?
It actually is pleasant. It's a little bit on the sweet side, so that's why I mixed it with the organic Gatorade, and it blended very nicely.
You talking about that or the lozenges?
The lozenges. That's why we melted the lozenges in the ginger tea with honey.
Lots of honey and lemon.
Okay,
and
good.
It
Hey
makes
guys, it's medicine.
good.
It's not candy.
it takes
Right.
but after that it tastes pretty good actually. You
Well, it
get to
sounds
what
right.
you like.
Well, how would you normally take medicine in the old days? With a little bit of honey and
Right.
Right.
Spoonful of
that's-
sugar helps the
yeah,
medicine go down.
exactly. So there you go.
Yeah,
Anyway,
almost
now
all-
I Here's a great one. We just had somebody that did a health documentary. We just heard before the show. Hey, Paul, before you even ask your question, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what's going on with what your world is? Because it's a neat little tie-in here.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, I made a healthcare reform documentary featuring the free market healthcare system, as well as my own healthcare system that I personally developed over the last 5 years or so. And it's doing really well. It's being well received in the festival circuit. We're in 22 festivals right now. And just on tour in Europe, going around. Right now I'm in Glasgow promoting the film and just the mission, behind the film with the free healthcare market and everything too. So yeah, it's going well.
While you're asking your question, I found a little link where we're promoting it. So here you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, and once it's up on Amazon Prime and everything, I'll let everybody know and give you guys the link and everything. But great presentation. I just wanted to say, I agree with you certainly with the homeostasis and the importance of homeostasis. So it all made a lot of sense. My question concerned, you touched on kind of some general ignorance in the populace about, pharmaceuticals, for example, and that sort of thing, and what we administer, and my question really is, do you feel that there's also what I would call kind of a cultural acceptance, a cultural conditioning over time, where it seems to me that most folks are fairly they're not well motivated to seek information and education about what they're putting in their body and why. And so, yes, that goes along with ignorance, I suppose. But to me, it seems more of a cultural conditioning over time, issue. And then, of course, there's certain people in the pharmaceutical industry, for example, that, there's certainly a profit motive as well. And so I see that, kind of intermingling with that, cultural conditioning that I mentioned. Is that something that you agree with, or, how do we combat this? What's the solution here?
I think the thing is, Paul, you make some very valid statements there. The reality of it is, first of all, we don't get into a battle because it's a never-ending, exhaustive journey that you take. They will wear you out. The best way to combat ignorance or conditioning is education. Educate the people. Unfortunately, like you said, people have been conditioned. I got a cold, doctor. Now, is it bacterial or is it viral? Well, we don't know. We can't determine that. I want an antibiotic. Well, most likely it's viral, and we're really not going to get an antibiotic. I want an antibiotic. I just paid $75 and I want an antibiotic. So what's the doctor do? Okay, here's some amoxicillin. Go take it. Again, making people happy. Healthcare is not about getting people happy. That's why we have people in insurance companies making decisions who have no medical background. Do they know what's going on? I'll tell you what, let's think about it from a monetary standpoint. Let's talk about chemotherapy. Okay, it's a known carcinogen. That's a reality. Nobody's going to debate that it's not. Okay, now again, the whole theory behind that is, cancer cells have a fibrin or protective membrane around them. Your normal antibodies can't, really attack and shut that down. So the theory behind chemo is that what's going to break that fibrin coating down and then destroy the cancer. Sounds good on paper, doesn't it? But in reality, what happens? It doesn't get all the cancer. Now you have a severely compromised immune system. You've got cancer. Kind of worse than square one, isn't it? But see, people are figuring, insurance companies, the average cycle for chemo with, doctors, hospitals, stuff, used to be about $37,000 for one cycle. They could take something natural that would be a fraction of the cost, no side effects. Do you think they're going to want to do that? No. Do you think people want to take, for example, let's use something common. Let's talk about pylori bacteria. causes ulcers. It's a bacteria, people, pylori. Simple antibiotic, just like that, takes care of it. But no, 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 no. And they've known this for years. Let's give them Zantac. Let's give them Tagamet. Let's treat the symptom because it's a greed thing. It's not a getting people better thing. It's a greed thing. And you can't fight that. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's part of the system of things. And you'll exhaust yourself if you try to attack it. But what you can do is you can get people to think. Don't give them the answer. Get them to think. What about this? Ask them a question. Let the wheel start turning. Hopefully, they'll say, yeah, you know what? That kind of does make sense. And then when you have something you can give them that provides relief without the side effects, like, wow, maybe you're onto something here. And you know, my reply is, you think. But that's what we're dealing with. So my thing is try to educate people. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. There's always going to be those people. It's like, you explain mechanism of action. This is how it does. My doctor says I need to take this pill. Really? You know what this causes? It causes a lot of side effects, internal bleeding, blah, 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 blah. My doctor says I got to take the pill. Goodbye. Do what your doctor says. I always tell my patients, you know what? When your doctor starts paying your bills, then maybe he should start calling the shots. But until then, can you maybe think a little bit outside the box on your own? And that's what it is. People want them to be told what to do. You can't tell people what to do. They're free moral agents. They can decide what they want, educate them, and let them make the choice. That's the simplest way to resolve that issue.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
The sad news is you're telling me there's no YouTube video I can watch for a minute and a half that'll get me going.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the world is today.
We'll go there, Jeff.
You know what I'm saying? That's where the world is today. Unfortunately, like you said, it's if there isn't somebody just to tell me what to do, and I only got a minute anyway, so you got to tell me quick. That's all that seems to happen. It's really very scary from that standpoint. David, I see your hand up.
Bruce, these chews sound great. Any concerns about food sensitivity and any recommended supplements to go along with the chews like fiber?
Don't need it. Already taken care of, got to count it. Here's the big thing. Fiber, again, how should we say, explained? You need some fiber. But you know what happens with most people? They eat fiber and they don't drink enough water. So then what happens? It's like a cork in your intestines and it squeezes the moisture out of your intestines. You don't need to do fiber. If you're not going to the bathroom, that usually is due to an enzymatic imbalance and your muscles in your abdominal area are not conditioned to induce normal peristalsis. Get the stomach working back together, give them something. See, the beauty of it is if you're sick, okay, what happens? Oh, I don't want to eat anything. I'm so nauseous. How about some chicken broth? Okay, I'll try a little broth. Maybe a little crackers. You sip a little ginger ale, and you feel better because it was easily assimilated by the body. That's the beauty of these chews. They're taken in to the body, and it's amazing how well they work. We don't have to worry about there's no peanuts, there's no soy. Soy, gentlemen, is the number one enemy for men because, number one, it suppresses testosterone level. You probably didn't know that. You're getting in touch with your feminine side every time you eat soy. Number two, long-term ingestion of soy will suppress thyroid function. I never knew that. Well, why is it in everything? Because it's a cash crop. It's easy to grow. You can make money on it. It's crude. Why do you think babies have such a problem today with colic? Why? Because mom doesn't want to breastfeed, so she goes get some stinking formula with soy in it. You can't digest it as an adult, so what do you think a child's going to do? No wonder the poor baby's got gas and burping and everything, because it's a stinking soy. But it's a moneymaker. It's a commercial commodity that's promoted. But it's junk. Sorry, we don't put soy in our product. So we make sure that we use the finest quality ingredients available, something that your body can readily absorb. You're not going to have any issues with that.
You know, the one comment to what you just said, though, is the fact that you really don't know what about the reality of anything until like maybe, let's say, 10 years have transpired. So if they just suddenly start putting soy in product, it's kind of like, I had to wait 10 years and see what the reports start to show as opposed to, well, I'll go along with the crowd. We'll see how it works out in the end together. It seems scary.
Go for it, baby. Jeff, go for it.
Charles, what do you got for us?
Thanks, Jeff and Dr. Laird. Fantastic discussion here. So you say it doesn't taste very bad. My kids are small and they don't eat very well. Maybe that's a mark on our parenting. But so the chews, is it good for kids?
Yeah, they taste very good. We make them in a vanilla right now, but again, once we start in these, we're going to make them in different flavors, cherry, perhaps strawberry. They're quite palatable. They think they're eating a Starburst, man. They love it. Mom and dad love it because they're getting all the nutrients they need, but they're eating a Starburst. See, they like it. It's like chewable vitamins for kids, Flintstone chewables. They love it. They taste great, and they're getting some nutrients in, but this is whole beyond Flintstone vitamins. This is something your body's going to use to repair itself. Then you see your child's like, wow, they didn't get sick this year. Boy, they seem like they're really doing well. They're not hyperactive. They're not all these issues because now we got proper nutrition, and they taste great. That's the wonderful thing about it.
Jeff, can you bring up the Hub Nutrition promotion page as a share screen and kind of discuss how folks can get that?
It's interesting you said that. I was just bringing that up in the background, and I was just about to click on this button right here.
And maybe Dr. Laird can talk about, this sounds pretty darn good. How is your marketing going, getting across the country? How's that going, getting the word out?
Well, this is where I invite Daryl to come in because I just make product. I'm just a formulator. Daryl is Mr. Logistics. So we'll let Daryl answer that question. Daryl, are you still with us? You can unmute yourself.
He's off having a chew. He'll be right back.
Nice.
Jeff, Rich Carroll is on too.
Here he is.
I was typing a chat to Jeff, and when I pushed the space bar, it did not unmute me. Charles, let me add Sylvia Peters, what she mentioned that she took last night and today. It's the powder form, the base formula of the chew. We also have it in powder form. And we can show you that, mention that later. But we are at a very, very interesting and very opportunistic time. To answer your question about the marketing, and here my wife mentioned to me that I could do this. It is very interesting because we are at phase 1 of bringing these formulas to market, and so what that means is we have a long way to go. We've been preparing for the last 2 years and putting all the foundational structure in place. But now strategic retail, strategic distribution, wholesale distribution, strategic financial partners can really benefit from this opportunity to join us in numerous projects up and above the chews and the immune products that we're talking about tonight.
Super. Did we say that? By the way, did I say that this is where we bring all the disruptors and game changers to the fore? This is a prime example, as you can see. Jane, you've been kind of sitting on the sidelines and working a long time in the bioregulatory medicine world. What's been your take on what you've been hearing yet tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I find this completely interesting. Nutrition is really the basis of everything. So that they're addressing this fundamentally is essential. But I'm curious, have you done any studies to, prove the efficacy of these products? And I was also curious about how this all came to be, like what produced this into the evolution of how you came to create this product as well.
Well, let's put it this way. If you'd like to give me about $750,000, I'll give you some clinical studies. We've done some clinical studies on some of our products. What I can tell you is that the ingredients that are in these products have been clinically tested in numerous universities around the world and come through with flying colors. So we have the substantiation via if you go to, say, for example, you look PubMed. Oh, okay, that's done this. Oh, that's done this. And you can go down the list in that, and it'll tell you exactly what it's done. The reality of it is, again, we can get tied into the big clinical studies. We've tested some things in hospitals, on small scale, but we don't have an unlimited financial budget to do that. Basically, what happens is someone approaches me, say a patient or perhaps a company, we need this. I originally developed that the chew in that for cancer patients because they were having a difficult time assimilating nutrients. They needed to sustain, homeostasis, but it was very difficult for them. So we developed that and we had remarkable results. Then what happened is I did some work for some of the U.S. Olympic teams. They were amazed. Now, they're a big thing. There can't be any PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs in that. And they tested that extensively. And we had to go through, it was like, wow, this is crazy. People drive me nuts. But anyway, we gave it to them, and their athletes were performing at an optimal level. We've done it with, professional football, power lifters. Athletes love that stuff. Of course, that's a juiced up version of it, but not only did it increase their strength tremendously, but their recuperative time, because again, they were going in that positive nitrogen balance where it was amazing. They could work out like animals and not have be sore stiff the next day. For example, if you've ever run, a marathon or you worked out, when you get that burn, that lactic acid ammonia burn,
Yep.
when you take this, you don't get that.
Wow.
It's gone, because now your body's readily getting rid of the lactic acid ammonia. You can work out like a wild lady, and the next morning you will be able to get out of bed and you'll feel great. You won't feel exhausted. Oh, I'm so sore, I'm so stiff, I must be getting old. No, you won't feel like that because you're on that. It's just like, it's high octane. And, that's why I say, but most of the products have been, either developed for a patient or a company that's approached me and said, I need this, I need that, what can you do? I said, tell me what you want, and that's what I do. So that's what led to the inception of a lot of these things, trying to come up with compounds that people have issues with. They have problems. What can we do to resolve the problem? That's what we try to do. So we try to come up with products that are efficacious. And again, Daryl's heard me say this, perhaps Jeff, you heard me say it. We live in a society based on immediate self-gratification. They don't want it tomorrow. They want it yesterday. And you got to give them something that works. For example, the media has taken words like immediate relief, and then you have to take for 3 weeks to 3 months. Well, I don't know. That doesn't seem immediate to me, does it? People want something that's efficacious, that works. It's like I said, before and prior, when you take something, you want to know it works. You want to feel a difference. When you take these compounds, depending on what the formula is, you feel a difference. And truly, it's usually within minutes to seconds that you do feel it. Not days, not weeks, not months, but right away, because you're giving the body what it needs in order to, again, reach that homeostatic stasis.
The sad reality of that comment just goes to show how false all the rest of the stuff is, like you said, because look, I take this and immediately something happens. What's the story behind everything else they've been pushing at me that you said takes 2-3 days, whatever? Even like I've seen that even in the stuff. Well, you've been taking that for 2 weeks. How you feel? I don't know yet. I'll take it for a while longer. I'll see how I feel. So yeah, it's insanity. Charles, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. If you could share that screen again on the hub promotion and nutrition,
Sure.
Can you sort of instruct us how to click that in order?
Well, we actually have to kind of pump this up, Jane. If you could address us a little bit, how we're going to kind of, unfortunately, some of the stuff on this site's still more of a placeholder than it's all finished up the way we prefer it to be in the end. But Jane, kind of, you got a thought on what'll be the connection through here?
Exactly. Once we, get the links to anything that we have, it's very easy to be able to pass that through. But right now it's just, like you said, a placeholder until we have that finished.
That's how early the phase is where everything is on our topic for tonight. So if you want to say we're all in here at the ground floor together, we can make a note and pin this dollar bill to the wall. Yeah, this is at the beginning of all of this really coming to a bigger fruition. We've had some stuff going on in the past weeks with some outside players with a global reach that have become extremely interested in pursuing this for other countries where this is an issue. And it's a way to kind of, instead of spending all day long trying to figure out how to get some food to some people, why don't we get them some chews and they can start popping a school up and putting a trench in and building a wall and a whole crew of things get done, instead of just spending all of our time and money just trying to figure out how to get a pallet of something that's not going to be good for them anyway to get over there, which probably gets stolen in the process. So
No, that won't happen.
No, never.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt, Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, I have another obligation. I have to leave. So if anybody has one quick question, I'll be able to answer it, but I have got to.
Okay. Well, who gets to ask that last question? Then we're going to force Daryl to stick around.
How do we get choose, Jeff?
All right. Well, let's hang for Daryl afterward. Gordon, have you got a good doc question?
Quite a while ago, probably over a year, after I had done something extremely strenuous, first thing in the morning, we were building a deck, and we moved all the wood, and I was done. I almost couldn't walk. Daryl gave me some, it was a CBD protein that within 3 minutes, literally 3 minutes, I felt better than I had in a really long time. How's that compare with this powder that we've been discussing in the chews?
It's the protein powder, the performance power, which is in the chews. We just added some CBD for people that want the CBDs.
Okay.
So
I got you.
that's the only difference, but it has everything in it. If you would have had the chew, it would have been the same exact thing.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you again. I got to leave.
Thanks,
but,
Odo.
thanks for
We
bringing the time in.
appreciate it. We'll
All right, take care.
reconvene and we'll talk on subsequent weeks, and we'll take this off screen later. Thanks, Doc.
Take care.
Daryl.
Yes, I am here.
All right, very good.
I'll answer any questions.
Well,
Yep.
first off, thanks so much for helping get that organized, and I appreciate that he had this run out on us, but that was really very, very good, and we're hardly done, as you can imagine. So we'll take some more questions. What we're going to definitely want to address, because obviously everybody's interest is going to be on, how we're going to be able to get access to this stuff. So we're going to definitely make sure that we put that in a place where it's available off of this site. And then I think you've got some stuff up here right now. So we're going to have some links over. This will give you a flavor of what the stuff looks like. Now this particular one is the version that's the powder, correct?
That is correct. This is the base formula of the chews, but it is in powder form and it's vanilla flavor. Athletes, they tell us that, and people who go to fitness gyms, fitness centers, they tell us it's one of the better flavored protein powders that they've tasted.
And then 15 to 30 servings, how much time does that represent?
Well, it depends how often you need it. So if someone that works out 5 days a week, 3 days a week. Lucas, are you still on? Can we unmute Lucas and ask him his experience?
Let's take a look. Hold on one second here. Okay, Lucas, you're unmuted. You might have to unmute your own self.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Good.
What's your question, Daryl?
Okay, so, give us your experience. The question is how long does a jar, in the 15 to 30, I'll preface that, is a workout, a modest workout is just 1 tablespoon. Or if you're working in the yard, you take 1 tablespoon and you drink a little before and through and then after the process. Mix it in any type of liquid that you would like. 2 tablespoons, the 15 servings, that's when someone's doing some powerlifting, someone's doing some serious workouts, they're training for some team, for some athletic event, then they would take 2 tablespoons at a time. Or their immune system is down, they're not processing food, then 2 tablespoons would help their body to get back in order. Now that being said, Lucas, tell us your experience and how it's worked for you and what you understand it can do.
Yeah, so the 30 servings is the 1 tablespoon. If you're using the 1 tablespoon, I'm not a professional athlete, but I'd like to work out. I try to go to the gym at least 5 times a week. And I really like jump roping. It's good cardio. I mix in burpees and push-ups and all sorts of things, squats. So I just do the 1 tablespoon. So that 1 jar will last me almost a month, maybe about 3 weeks. And just like everything that's been mentioned so far, what it's going to do is it's just going to provide me a boost to go through my workout. I don't get sore. I still feel like I worked out when I'm done, but I don't get this this burn, this resistance to that, I guess, would encourage me to quit. So I just feel better as I'm working out, and I feel even better results from my workout. When I look in the mirror, I feel like it's actually giving me better results from my workouts.
That would sort of stand to reason based on the fact that it's helping you absorb all these nutrients and everything better. That would certainly make a lot of sense, for sure. Well, one of the things that's going to be available for our situation is it will be off of our site. And as you saw, we have some special pricing that'll be available, different of what you see being shown here.
Yeah, you need to go off their site to get the special pricing.
And then also you'll see there's some other stuff too. So here he's showing this is the immune buildup system. And again, this is the big issue with flu. Everybody's all hyped up about COVID, but when you look at the list of everything that people got sick over through the years, it's not a high priority one. But guess what? It's just another one. And it all comes back to the same problem, your immunity. So, here's something they've come up with, and it really helps build that all up. So now it doesn't matter whether it's the flu or it's this or that or whatever. I'm at least making myself in a proper place as opposed to, walking around susceptible, thinking that little paper mask is doing anything for me, and I get this false sense of security, but my immunity is. I may not be sick, but like he was saying, and I learned a lot being involved with all of these people through the years. This has been being in this program has been a great education for me. Everybody's walking around compromised and they don't even know it. What were you going to explain about that, Daryl? Anything in particular on the immunity thing? I see.
I said, I'm sorry. I guess I was just listening to you. You were doing a great job. So let me explain this.
I didn't want to be pontificating, but I'm regurgitating what I've learned from you that's so compelling.
Right, and you don't recognize this product because this is our new name for the lozenges. The lozenges that Sylvia Peters says that she takes when she works the shifts at Baptist Hospital in the COVID tent. And we've renamed it Immune Relief Squared. And these are the lozenges. You just take a lozenge if you're out in public, or you're going to be on every time I fly, I take a lozenge. If the moment you feel like you're getting sick, you feel like you're getting a cold, a sore throat, any type of symptom, you take a lozenge, and if you get it soon enough, it goes away. It goes away within minutes or hours. If you get sick and you come down with the flu, wake up overnight with serious flu, serious cold, whatever type of illness, take 3 a day until it subsides, and it will subside. And over the last 6 months, we've had ones that have gotten real sick, and within the first day, they're feeling better. And within a week or so, they have no more symptoms. They're over it.
You were about to show that little choose page for a minute. Did you want to show something on that too? I have another question waiting for us.
And I was going to emphasize our nonprofit humanitarian efforts. Our Life Sustain Foundation is positioned to partner with existing nonprofits globally, here in the U.S. and globally, to supply the life-sustaining chew.
And that's kind of what I was referring to. Some things are afoot already around this particular aspect of it, which is great. Lisa, I see your hand is up.
I actually wanted, it's not a question, but I wanted to talk about the lozenge also. I have to completely agree with Daryl in reference to the validity of it. Personal experience myself and one of my sons and my husband, anytime we start getting a sore throat or any type of sickness, we take a lozenge right away, and at nighttime, morning time, and it is gone. We've caught it soon enough where we don't go into 1 or 2 or 3 days. So I really have to say the lozenge have been honestly lifesavers for us, especially with this COVID.
Lisa, let me ask you a question. Prior to that, were you doing something like a cold ease or something else, or what had you tried in the past?
I personally, myself, I don't like to take antibiotics. I don't take anything unless it's natural, unless I have to. But my husband and my sons, they're a little bit different, and they were taking just the regular, cold medicines or the NyQuils or, just off the counter, OTC, over. And this is so much better because it wasn't getting rid of their colds. They would have to take it for several days. But we've had personal experience with the lozenges. It took a couple different times we've done it, and it took one time. And then I had a client that actually was across my office who had COVID, which he didn't test negative, but he had it for like 3 or 4 weeks before. So I instantly started taking lozenges about 2 to 3 days just for precautions. Never had any symptoms whatsoever.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you, that was a great way to end today here. And it was interesting to see all those people that decided to tune in, because I didn't expect all those people that have had experiences with the program to be calling or to be online. So that was really fantastic. I appreciate that. So Daryl, thanks again. And thanks everyone for being here.